Windows XP takes us back to a much simpler time. A time with better TV shows, an internet landscape that was pretty much the Wild West, and heck, we even had Bonzi Buddy. But now we're in the modern day and that era has quickly passed us. But just because that era has passed us doesn't mean we can't look back at it every now and then, which is what we will be doing in this video. That and any excuse to make a Windows XP video is a good excuse. But you might ask, well hey Nostalgic, didn't you already make a Windows XP video pretty similar to this one last year? Well, yes I did, but I noticed that I got a few things wrong in that one, and that one was for 2024, so might as well make one for 2025. And no, before you ask, I will not be using OneCore API in this video. While yes, it is really cool, I want to save that for its own video one day. In this video, however, I just want to see what the base Windows XP will do in modern times. Probably nothing, but we're going to try anyway. Oh, and might as well do the disclaimer now, definitely do not try this at home. Windows XP hasn't seen a security update in over a decade now, and the mere fact of just connecting it to the internet puts you at a very high risk of getting hacked and getting all of your information stolen. So definitely just leave it to idiots on the internet like me to try this out for you. But before we dive too deep into Windows XP, let's go ahead and get some backstory first. Or well, just a history lesson. The year is 1999 and big changes are on the horizon. At this point in time, Windows is still running on top of the aging DOS architecture, and needless to say that is definitely causing some issues. Because as of up to this point, the last two versions of Windows, or three if you want to count Windows 98 Second Edition, have all suffered from major stability issues. And it's becoming increasingly apparent that the days of the Windows 9X architecture are quickly ending.
And it's going to load in the appropriate drivers. You'll notice that this scanner build... Whoa.
And Microsoft themselves is already gearing up for this change, developing their own standalone kernel for Windows called Windows NT. Now, Windows NT had been around for quite a while up to this point, mainly being used for business and professional use. But by the time of the late 90s, Microsoft still has not developed a version of NT geared towards the home user. But all of this was about to change as Microsoft was gearing up to finally have a home release developed on the NT kernel, stating that Windows 98 Second Edition would be the final release on the Windows 9X architecture. Until it wasn't. Because in the year 2000, Microsoft decided to release one last version of Windows based on the Windows 9X architecture, and we all know how that went. But in the previous year, Microsoft had a very successful release on the NT side, releasing Windows 2000 for professional and server use. Windows 2000 was better than Windows Me in almost every way, being more stable, less buggy, and just all around running better than Windows Me. The only real downside being is that running old DOS programs on Windows NT was pretty difficult. But even though Windows Me ran on top of DOS, Microsoft removed a lot of its DOS capabilities, pretty much rendering Windows ME kinda useless compared to Windows 2000. Pretty much meaning that when future versions of NT came around, like Windows XP, people with good enough computers either just switched to Windows XP or stuck with Windows 98 Second Edition. Speaking of Windows XP, around the same time Microsoft is working on a big project called Windows Whistler, which would eventually become Windows XP. This project intended to finally merge the two codebases together. That way Microsoft doesn't have to release two different versions of Windows, which just confuses the consumers. And the home users will finally be able to take advantage of a much more stable and modern OS. And so finally in 2001, Windows XP was released to the public with a home and a professional edition, with other editions coming out years later. And as we all know now, Windows XP ended up being a massive success, to the point that it still has a cult following to this day, even though Microsoft dropped support for it over 10 years ago, which is still what makes me curious. What can you actually do on Windows XP these days? Well, that's what we're going to try to look at in this video. I decided to go ahead and find a few programs to try out and try to run them with some limited success. But either way, with this intro and little history lesson out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at Windows XP. Alright, so here we are back with Windows XP. I've already got a folder set up with all of the software we're going to run, like video editors, media players, office software, and our web browsers. And the first one that we're going to install is Supermium. So we're going to go ahead and hit yes. There is a possibility that we're going to go ahead and have to install the C++ distributables, because I do remember Firefox running into some of those issues, so it might give us an issue with this. But we're going to go ahead and create shortcuts for Supermium. Good to go. We're just going to go ahead and install all the shortcuts. Install this for all users, and we should be good. So let's go ahead and hit OK. And there we go. So it is successfully installed. going to go ahead and launch Supermium. And if you guys don't know what Supermium is, it's a Chromium-based web browser made for older versions of Windows. So it's like an open source browser made for like XP 7, even 2000. It lets you browse the web safer in a way on these older versions of Windows. It's still not very safe, but it is safer than using Internet Explorer, which is essentially unusable. So let's go ahead and check some stuff out. Let's go try out YouTube. Okay, so I accidentally turned on the un-Googleified version of this browser, so we're going to have to do the www.google.com trick like Internet Explorer, but this should work anyway. Let's go ahead and try YouTube now. Let's go ahead and open that up. And here we go as it loads in. It's going to take it a minute. Okay, so here we go. It's not the quickest so far. This might actually benefit from me adding a CPU core and some RAM, but it'll be all right. All right, so we are back now. We're going to try out Supermium again. I just added an extra CPU core and some RAM to this, so let's see if this runs any better now. Go ahead and type in YouTube. Let it load up. Hopefully it will be a little bit better this time. Okay, so it's still pretty slow. I think it's a little bit quicker than it was last time, but yeah, it's still pretty slow. Now, a lot of this has to do with the virtual machine, so if you actually have this on your like main system, this shouldn't be too bad. But due to it being a virtual machine, this kind of hampers the performance a little bit. But let's go ahead and type in one of my videos. It's lagging so bad I can't type. Yeah, it's extremely slow. Nostalgic 9080. Eventually it'll type it in. There we go. It is barely loading in. Wow, this is extremely slow. It shouldn't do this on your main system, so if you have it on like actual hardware, this shouldn't be as bad. I have a feeling that maybe my hardware acceleration isn't working the way it should be, and that could be another reason why it's doing this. I wonder if I can, well, if I can even do anything.
Over the past 2 years.
Oh, that was my video playing. Go check out that video, by the way. It's a really good one. Let's go ahead and see. Can I turn on dark mode? I think I can, eventually. Well, that's better. I wonder if Supermium has a dark mode feature. Believe it or not, that actually fits pretty well with the Windows XP theme. It makes it pop out more. So let's go into settings. We're going to turn on dark mode. Oh, wow. There we go. That's actually not bad with the Windows XP theme. This would look great in the Zune theme, I think. We'd have to try that out one day. But either way, that is Supermium. It didn't run as good as I would like it to, but it's probably just because it's on a virtual machine, so I wouldn't put any stock into that. Either way, we need to go back to our documents and try out Firefox, just because I try out Firefox in every one of these videos. So we're going to do the standard installation. I remember this giving me a problem because I didn't have these C++ distributables. I don't know, actually maybe it might be working this time. We're going to go ahead and do that. It's going to start installing, and there we go. Not bad. So let's see if this runs better than the Supermium browser. This actually is running way smoother. That's actually kind of a surprise. Let's turn the dark mode on. So that actually looks pretty good with the brighter like UI. So not bad. So we have our channel here again. Doing advertisement. Go ahead and go check out these videos if you haven't already. So that's Firefox and Supermium browser installed. Those are, I think there's versions of Opera that still run on this, but mainly Supermium, but both would be, I would say those two would be the web browsers you would want to do in 2025. So now it's time to move on to media players. In terms of media players, there's really two options I went with here. I went with the last version of Media Player that Windows Media Player that supported XP, and that is Media Player 11. It's going to check our system and see if it's even valid. All right, so now we have the license. We're going to accept that, and it will install Media Player 11. All right, so it's going to ask us, or do we want to do a custom or express install? We're just going to go ahead and do the express or express settings. Sorry, these are settings. So we're going to go ahead and finish that, and here we go. So this is Media Player 11. I believe this was made, I want to say for Windows 7, but I don't know. It looks really good here on XP. It actually, the sort of like arrow themed UI looks pretty good on XP at least. But yeah, not bad. So it does come with like some default stuff, like Highway Blues. So not bad. All right, so at least we know Media Player works. Sadly, I don't think there's any videos in here to like show that it works, but yeah, not bad. So that's Media Player 11. Another one that I kind of got in hot water with on my Windows 7 video a year ago, which I do plan on making a Windows 7 video for 2025. One that I kind of irritated a lot of people about was VLC in that Windows 7 video. And that's because I said there was only like 2 people using it or something like that. I didn't know VLC was still like as widely popular as it is today. But we're going to go ahead and install it here. So now after that, we're going to install VLC in all of our Windows installs. But we're going to go ahead and hit next, install it. And now that it's done installing, we're going to go ahead and run VLC, and maybe not. So it needs msvcrt.dll. So I think this is where we need to get that C++ distributables. So all right, here we go. We have the C++ redistributables here. We have the x86 version, so we're just going to go ahead and run this. I believe this is the last version that was made for XP, so this should be the latest one. And now that we've installed that, we're just going to go ahead and restart the computer. And now that we've restarted, let's see if VLC launches now. And no, it does not. Okay, so I was looking around and I really couldn't find a solution for this. So I know it'll definitely run on Windows XP, but I just couldn't find a way to fix this. But if you can figure it out, VLC is probably a better option than Media Player 11. Because it's more versatile, but you'll just have to figure out how to fix this. Another thing that would be pretty important on a modern Windows XP install is like Office software. And the first thing that we're going to install is LibreOffice, because we're going to have to do an ISO install for Office 2001. And LibreOffice is probably just better in general anyway. This is LibreOffice 5.4.7.2, I believe the last version for Windows XP. Believe it or not, I really don't use LibreOffice as much anymore because I mainly use Google Docs for most stuff now. LibreOffice has always been a really good open source Office software, so it's definitely a go-to software if you want to have something running natively on your computer. And there we go, LibreOffice is finished installing. We're going to go ahead and hit finish, and we'll try to open it up. And okay, so I think we have an issue with our DLL library. So after I figure out how to fix that, we will be right back and we'll actually try VLC and LibreOffice again and see if that works. Okay, so one of the solutions that I found was just installing an older version of LibreOffice. So what I did is I found a 4.1 installation. I know this is way back, but we're gonna see if this is any better. It could be the same with VLC. What they were saying is that newer versions of Windows could have like different DLLs that it's looking for, and that could be the issue, but I don't know, because I've ran these versions on previous installs of XP, so I don't know why it would be doing this, but we're going to try to install this older version anyway and see what happens. And now we have LibreOffice 4.1 installed. That's finished, and let's see if we can open it up and see if it's any different. And there we go. So yeah, this runs. So I imagine the version of LibreOffice that I installed was just too new for Windows XP. Maybe I could add some DLL files or something to make it like actually run, but I think you could find a version of LibreOffice that it will run with that's newer than 4.1, but this is what we got. So we can now make text documents, which I think even like if you're using Windows XP, I think this here is good enough. But yeah, now we have that installed and working somehow, let's go ahead and install an Office software that was really made for Windows XP, and that is Microsoft Office XP. All right, and here we are. We're going to go ahead and accept the license agreement, and go ahead and install it. All right, so now that Microsoft Office XP has been installed, we now have these extra Office features here, not counting the ones by LibreOffice, but we now can open up a Microsoft Word document, and here we go. So I mean, if you're using Windows XP, this is really, like I was saying with LibreOffice, all you really need. Because I don't imagine anybody's doing professional work with XP, and if you are, I really don't know why you are. And yeah, this should be really all you need. So in Windows XP, like I said, you're not really going to be doing professional like work with this, or at least I hope you're not. So that's really all you need, and just it pretty much just proves that you can still do basic stuff with XP. But either way, next up, we're going to look at some video editors. I'm going to go open this up. Check out the video editors, and the first one we're going to do is Windows Movie Maker. And this is the Windows Movie Maker for Windows Vista, I believe. Movie Maker 2.6. Yeah, I believe this was for Windows Vista, if I'm not mistaken. With this in Vista, I used to make like slideshow like videos, and I thought that was really cool. I guess in a way you could say that's how I started getting interested in making YouTube videos, but yeah, let me go ahead and go on Firefox and install some images, and we'll make a video here. All right, so I did see that there are some sample pictures in here. We'll just go ahead and use these. So what you do is that you insert your pictures down here, and you just make a slideshow pretty much. So as you see, it kind of does like a slideshow there. That's a nice image, by the way. So yeah, we can also add some like different transitions here. If I remember how to do it. Video transitions, there we go. So we're gonna go ahead and do this, like the circle one there. We'll do like a diamond there. We'll do the horizontal. Wait, actually, here to cap it off, we'll do video effects. Wait, is there a way to add text? I thought there was a way to add like title and credits. There we go. Add. I have no clue what. It's been so long since I've done this. All right, so let's just go ahead and look at the transitions. Yeah. And I thought this was like really cool as a kid. So this is really what got me into making videos. Like I thought I was really making movies here. But either way, that is Windows Movie Maker. No, we're not saving those changes. A more serious video editor is Shotcut. Now, I've usually installed this on most of the other videos I've made. So we're just going to go ahead and hit install and let it do its thing. And now that it's finished installing, let's go ahead and open up Shotcut. And there we go. So here is Shotcut. Let's let it load in here. So we're going to go ahead and open up my pictures, do the sample pictures again. Go ahead and open all those up. Oh, wow. I don't know why the bottom... Okay, there we go. There's our timeline, I believe. Why is the screen green? I have no idea why it's green. We're kind of having some issues here adding stuff, but overall, not too bad. At least it works. I don't know how much of this is a lack of drivers or maybe just it not working well on XP, but it should work. I don't get what the green screen is all about, but yeah. So now we've checked out some video editors, let's go ahead and check out GIMP. All right, so here we are. We are installing GIMP 2.8. So we're going to go ahead and let it do that. This is the only, I think this is version 2.8.22, I believe. If I'm not correct, I'll put it up on the screen. But this should be our the correct version of GIMP. Hopefully it doesn't give us any more DLL file issues. So other than that, we're just going to let it install, and hopefully this is the correct one. And there we go. The setup is finished. Let's go ahead and go find GIMP and launch it. There we go. Going to let it do its first time startup. I know GIMP 3.0 just released. It's a massive improvement over what GIMP normally is. I will say that, but Sadly, I don't think you can use this, or I don't think you can use GIMP 3.0 on XP anytime soon. Maybe with the one-core API, but like I said earlier in the video, we'll look at that in a different video. But either way, here we are. Let's go ahead and go find an image to put in here. This nice picture right here. We can do some colorize here. We can change the hue. That kind of makes it look way worse. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. Let's go try colors. Let's see if there's a saturation thing. There we go. Let's bump up the saturation. There we go. Bring down the lightness. And believe it or not, we made the image look better. So yeah, that is GIMP. So at least we know that this works. There's probably versions of Photoshop that work for XP still. I really don't know what version that would be. If anybody knows, go ahead and put it down, and go ahead and list it down in the comments below. Maybe we'll check that out one day. But yeah. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video on Windows XP. I know I didn't talk about gaming in this video like I did in the previous one, but I figured there's enough content here to make that its own separate video, so I'm just going to do that. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you guys would like to see more Windows content, let me know down in the comments below. I'm planning on getting the Mario Kart 64 video or the LEGO Star Wars the video game video out relatively soon, so just bear with me on that. Also, I want to say a special thanks to my super supporters on screen here. They're a massive help. And if you would like to become a supporter yourself, go ahead and hit the join button down below. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.